The storm had a voice, and it screamed through the drowned valleys of Karev 9. Lightning cracked over what was once a living world. Green continents, glittering seas, tall cities that touched the clouds. Now all of it was water and ruin. Amid the rising tides, two figures clung to a collapsed structure of steel and coral, a mother and her child. Selena's arms ached, but she held her daughter tighter. The child, Tali, was no more than 6 cycles old, her skin pale blue and luminous under the storm's flashes. She didn't cry anymore. She had cried all she could. The sky rumbled like an angry god. The planet was dying. The fault lines had broken open beneath the crust, releasing a tide that swallowed everything. Their people had launched ships, thousands of them, but the docks had broken apart before the final evacuation. Those who didn't make it off-world were forgotten. Selena was one of them. She looked up. A sliver of light moved across the clouds, too fast to be lightning, too straight to be natural. Her heart skipped. It was a ship, not one of theirs. Bigger, heavier, metal hull gleaming even through the ash-colored rain. Far above, in orbit, Captain Mara Thorne guided her human rescue cruiser through debris clouds. She had been surveying the system, scanning for survivors, when her sensors caught a faint distress beacon, alien, non-human, but repeating in desperation. Against orders, she descended. "Command won't like this," said her AI companion. R7, voice calm and mechanical. "They don't have to," Mara replied. "We're not leaving anyone down there." Her ship cut through lightning like a knife through silk. The surface storm howled around her as she dropped lower, radar pinging. There, a life signal. 2 of them, faint but alive. She toggled her comms, tried to broadcast an open call. No reply. "Hang on," she murmured. "I'm coming." Below, Selena saw the craft breaking through the clouds. Her breath caught. Hope was a dangerous thing, but she couldn't stop it from blooming. She held Tali closer, whispering something soft in their native tongue, words that meant hold on a little longer. The wind tore across the shore. Waves slammed against the ruins. The ship hovered now, a roaring shadow above them. Its engines blew the floodwater back in great circles. Tali pointed, eyes wide. "Mother, light." Selena nodded. "Yes, the light." Mara switched on the search beam. Through the rain-blurred glass, she finally saw them. A mother, clutching her child, standing on a tiny fragment of a world that was almost gone. For a heartbeat, she hesitated. The landing zone was unstable. The ship's warning lights screamed red. "Risk factor high." R7 intoned. "Surface collapse imminent." Mara exhaled slowly. "I know." She tightened her gloves, pulled the manual override, and forced the ship down anyway. The impact was brutal. Metal groaned. Waves slammed against the hull. Alarms blared. She didn't care. She threw the hatch release and ran into the storm. Cold rain stung her face. Visibility dropped to near zero. But she saw them. 2 small figures on the crumbling platform. Selena froze when the human appeared. The tall figure in dark armor, a glowing insignia on her chest, hands raised in peace. Mara shouted through the storm. "Come on. We have to go now." The words meant nothing to Selena, but the tone, urgent, pleading, said everything. The platform cracked under their feet. Water gushed upward. Selena made her choice. She pushed Tali toward the human. Mara caught the small body in her arms, then reached back for the mother. For a second their eyes met. 2 different species, 2 different worlds, but the same fear and the same strength. The next moment the platform collapsed completely. The flood roared. Mara dragged them both into the hatch, slamming it shut as the waves swallowed the spot where they had stood. Inside, the child gasped. The mother fell to her knees, trembling. Mara leaned against the metal wall, catching her breath. "Safe," she said softly. "You're safe." Selena didn't understand the words. But she looked at her daughter, then at the stranger who had risked her life to save them. In that instant, she understood something deeper than language. Outside, Karev 9 kept dying. The oceans boiled. The sky broke apart. But inside that small human cruiser, 3 lives had just changed, and perhaps the fate of more worlds than any of them could imagine. And as the storm faded behind them, Captain Mara Thorne whispered to herself, "This isn't just a rescue. It's the beginning of something much bigger." The storm was still screaming outside, but inside the human cruiser there was only the sound of dripping water and heavy breathing. Mara stood by the control console, her flight suit soaked, watching the two beings she had pulled from the flood. The mother knelt beside her child, whispering in a soft, melodic tongue. Every word sounded like a note of pain mixed with relief. R7's metallic voice broke the silence. Captain Thorne, the life forms show stable vitals but elevated stress levels. Species unknown. Recommendation: report to command immediately. Mara wiped rain from her face. Command told me to ignore alien distress signals. They don't get a report until I know what I'm dealing with. She turned to the pair. You understand me? Selena stared blankly, her wide violet eyes reflecting the flickering cabin lights. The child tilted her head, curious but silent. Mara sighed. Figures. She opened a medkit and gently approached them. The mother tensed, shielding her child. Mara knelt slowly, lowering her weapon and removing her gloves to show empty hands. She pointed to herself. Mara. Then she pointed to them. You? For a moment, nothing. Then the woman hesitated and spoke a single word, voice trembling. Selena. Mara smiled. Selena. She pointed to the child. The little one blinked, then whispered, Tali. Selena and Tali, Mara repeated, nodding. Okay, you're safe now. The ship jolted violently. Warning lights flared red. The engines whined under pressure. R7 announced, Captain, planetary tectonics escalating. We must ascend immediately. Mara ran back to the pilot's seat. Hold tight, she yelled, even though they couldn't understand. She hit the thrusters, and the ship burst upward through layers of thunder and flame. Outside, the world cracked like an egg. The planet's molten core bled through the oceans. Entire continents vanished beneath vapor. Inside, Tali screamed, covering her ears. Selena clutched her, eyes wide with terror. Mara gritted her teeth, fighting the controls. Come on, hold together. Finally, the clouds broke. The cruiser shot into orbit, engines glowing, metal creaking from the strain. When the shaking stopped, there was silence again, the kind of silence that only comes after near death. Mara leaned back, catching her breath. We made it. R7 replied, surface integrity collapsing. Karev 9 will be uninhabitable within 1 hour. Selena looked at the view screen. Her home, a blue and green jewel once, was now a dark, swirling sea of storms. Her lips trembled, her eyes shining. Mara saw that expression and turned off the tactical display. She didn't need data to understand grief. R7. Set course for orbital safe zone Delta 5. We'll refuel and reassess. As the ship moved, Mara opened the scanner logs again. 2 life readings. Oxygen-based respiration, aquatic adaptation markers. She frowned. They're ocean dwellers. That planet was perfect for them. Why would their world flood if they evolved for water? R7 processed. Possibility. Artificial tectonic manipulation. Mara's eyes narrowed. You think someone caused this? Affirmative. Detected pattern matches deliberate pulse detonation, non-natural. Her jaw tightened. Someone had destroyed this planet and left its people to die. She turned back to Selena and Tali. They were huddled together, watching her carefully. Mara approached and sat across from them. She took a ration pack, opened it, and offered it to Tali. The child hesitated, then accepted. The small act broke the tension. Selena looked up, uncertain but grateful. When the child finished eating, she touched the window and murmured in her native speech. Mara couldn't understand, but R7 translated faintly. She says, thank you. Mara smiled faintly. You're welcome, little one. But just as peace settled, the cruiser's alarms blared again. R7's tone sharpened. Unidentified vessels entering proximity, 3, maybe 4. Vectoring toward our position. Mara spun to the console. On the radar, bright dots bloomed red. Who are they, she asked. Unknown configuration. Emissions consistent with military power cores. Selena's head snapped up. She saw the shapes on the screen and began speaking rapidly, her tone panicked. Mara didn't need a translation. Whoever those ships were, they weren't rescuers. She looked at the alien mother and her child, then at the incoming signatures. Looks like you've got enemies too, she muttered. She hit the throttle. Hold on. We're not done yet. The cruiser tilted sharply and accelerated into the void, leaving behind the dying planet, and racing toward whatever awaited in the black between stars. The stars of Karev IX's orbit glimmered faintly through the storm's leftover debris. Mara's cruiser glided silently through the black sea of space, leaving the ruined world behind. But there was no relief, only a growing unease. The scanner kept flashing red, showing those same hostile signatures closing in fast. Inside the cabin, the atmosphere was tense. Selena sat with her arms around Tali, whispering to calm her child. The child's soft bioluminescent skin pulsed faintly in rhythm with her heartbeat, glowing brighter every time the ship shuddered. Mara adjusted the thrusters manually. R7, status report. For vessels in pursuit, the AI responded calmly. Unknown technology. Armament level, high. Speed, increasing. Mara's jaw tightened. They want the survivors. R7's logic circuits hummed. Correction, they may want to eliminate witnesses. Mara shot a look toward the AI terminal. Not helping. She flicked open the long-range scanners, trying to identify the ships. The interface sputtered with static. A pattern repeated across the signals. 3 sharp pulses, then silence, then 3 again. Mara frowned. That's not a random transmission. R7 processed for several seconds. Pattern resembles military encryption. Origin unknown. Decrypted. Attempting. Selena stood suddenly and pointed toward the screen. She spoke rapidly, the same word repeating. Vorin. Vorin. Her voice trembled. Mara turned. Vorin? You know them? Selena nodded, expression tight with fear. She moved her hands in gestures, breaking, tearing, flooding, and then pressed one palm against her heart. Mara understood enough. The Vorin had done this. They had destroyed her world. R7. Mara ordered quietly. Record everything. Already recording. The ships drew closer. The cruiser's alarm screamed. Distance closing. 2,000 clicks, 1,000. Mara gripped the controls. They want to chase? They'll get one. She dove into the planet's debris field, weaving through shattered satellites and drifting metal. The cruiser's hull scraped against fragments of dead space stations. Outside, flashes of blue energy bolts lit the void. Evasive pattern Delta, R7 advised. Already on it. A beam tore across the cruiser's side. The ship spun. Tali cried out. Hang on, Mara yelled, stabilizing the craft. She powered the aft cannons and returned fire. One of the pursuing vessels exploded in a cloud of sparks. 3 left, she muttered. Come on. Selena gripped the wall beside her, eyes darting between her daughter and the human pilot who refused to give up. Another blast rocked the cabin. R7 reported, shields at 42%. Hull breach in rear compartment sealed automatically. Plot a jump route out of the system, Mara ordered. Calculating. Warning. Hyperspace jump may destabilize due to gravitational anomalies from the planet's collapse. Mara cursed under her breath. Do it anyway. The moment stretched, then a sudden ping. Captain, R7 said. Message fragment decoded. Mara glanced at the screen. The alien text glowed, auto-translated. Contain the survivors. Do not allow the human to escape. Her blood ran cold. They know about me. Selena's trembling hand touched her arm. The alien woman looked straight into Mara's eyes, and for a heartbeat, their fear and defiance were the same. Then Tali gasped. Mother! She pointed out the viewport. Through the smoke and debris, a massive vessel emerged, larger than the others, a command ship with black armor and a burning red symbol. The same sigil carved into the ruins back on Karev 9. R7 spoke softly, energy signature rising. They are preparing to fire. Mara's fingers flew across the console. Not today. The cruiser banked hard, engines howling, and plunged toward the dying planet's upper atmosphere. The pressure rattled every bolt. The Vorin flagship fired, a beam of pure white light cutting through the void, missing them by meters, but slicing one of its own smaller ships apart. Mara smirked grimly. Bad aim. She angled the ship toward a mountain of storm clouds and lightning. R7 protested. Captain, atmospheric reentry at this velocity. Shut up and trust me. They dove into the chaos below. Fire streaked the hull. Outside, lightning danced like silver claws. Inside, Selena and Tali huddled together as the ship bucked violently. Mara fought the controls, sweat on her forehead. Finally, the cruiser broke through the storm into relative calm, a pocket above the planet's last stable plateau. Mara let out a shaky laugh. Lost them. For now. R7 confirmed. Enemy signals fading. Temporary safe zone established. Selena exhaled in relief. She touched her chest and then pointed toward Mara, murmuring softly, "Gratitude, maybe even admiration." Mara smiled faintly. "Yeah, we made it." But she knew it wasn't over. Not even close. As she powered down the weapons, R7 displayed new data, seismic readings from below the surface. "Captain, those tunnels lead directly to a subterranean power core." Mara leaned back, realization dawning. "Then that's where we go next." Outside, lightning split the clouds again. The planet groaned, still alive, or perhaps still dying. And deep beneath, something pulsed, the same rhythm that had destroyed everything above. The hunt for truth had begun. The planet's storm clouds parted just enough for the cruiser to descend. Below them, the cracked surface of Karev 9 glimmered with molten scars. Rivers of glowing magma twisted through valleys that had once been cities. The world was dying, but not yet dead. Mara gripped the control sticks. R7, I need a stable landing point near those coordinates. The AI calculated. Terrain unstable. Radiation spikes beyond safety threshold. Nothing about this mission is safe. Mark it anyway. Selena leaned over the viewport, eyes fixed on the surface. Her trembling fingers traced the holographic map still glowing in front of her. She pointed toward a circular structure half buried beneath collapsed cliffs. Mara followed her gaze. "That's your core site, isn't it?" Selena didn't understand the words, but she nodded. The cruiser dropped through a wall of smoke and landed on what had once been a transport pad. The ground vibrated beneath their boots. The sound of cracking stone echoed like a heartbeat. Mara sealed her helmet and stepped outside. The air shimmered with heat, and toxic clouds swirled above them. She helped Selena and Tali down the ramp, adjusting their portable breathing filters. Tali's small hand slipped into Mara's armored glove. Instinctive trust, simple and human despite their differences. The entrance to the facility was half submerged in hardened lava. Black metal doors, ancient yet humming with faint blue light. R7 hovered overhead via drone. Scanning interior. "Energy readings off the scale, Captain. Suggest we proceed with caution." Mara smirked. "When do I ever do that?" They entered. The corridors were silent except for the distant hum of machines older than either species. Walls carved with alien glyphs pulsed faintly, as if remembering. Each step echoed like a reminder that this place had once been sacred. Selena walked slowly, fingertips brushing the walls. Her expression was sorrow and awe. She spoke softly in her language, her voice trembling with nostalgia. R7 translated faintly through waveform reconstruction. "She says her ancestors built this place to calm the world's heart." Mara frowned. "And someone turned it into a bomb." The tunnel opened into a massive chamber. At its center stood a crystal engine, the size of a cathedral, pulsing with molten energy. Sparks arced between the conduits. Mara whistled under her breath. "So this is your planet's core stabilizer." R7 confirmed. "Design purpose, gravitational balance. Current state, corruption detected. It's overloading itself." Selena touched a nearby control panel. The alien interface responded instantly to her DNA. Images flooded the room. Holograms of oceans rising, of continents breaking, of ships fleeing into space. Tali gasped. Selena fell to her knees. Mara stepped closer, watching the projection. "It wasn't natural," she said quietly. "They hacked your stabilizer from orbit." R7 nodded. "Confirmed. External interference detected. Signal origin matches Vorin fleet encryption." Mara's hands tightened into fists. "So they caused the flood. They killed your world for what?" The AI calculated. Possible motives: resource denial, planetary weapon testing, or political extermination. Mara's voice dropped low. "Not on my watch." Suddenly, static burst through the comms. R7's voice warped. "Incoming signal, encrypted Vorin broadcast." A deep, cold voice filled the cabin speakers. "Humancraft, you interfere in matters beyond your species. Leave the site or die with the ruins." Mara grinned. "Guess we're famous." She activated her plasma rifle, checking its charge. R7, prep defense mode. "Selena, stay behind me." "Tali, hold her tight." A sharp boom echoed from above. The ceiling trembled. Vorin drop pods pierced through, slamming into the chamber floor. the air filled with the hiss of pressurized doors. Mara aimed her weapon. Here we go. The first Voran soldier stepped out, tall, armored, faceless under a black mask glowing crimson. They fired. Mara ducked, returning a burst of blue plasma that scorched the wall behind them. Selena grabbed a fallen Voran tool, an energy rod, and slammed it against the ground. The crystal reacted, sending a shockwave that knocked the enemy backward. Nice move, Mara shouted. Selena met her eyes, breath shaking but determined. Fight, together, she managed to say in broken English. More pods landed. The chamber became chaos. Bolts of light, smoke, screams. Mara fired in rapid bursts, rolling across the platform. R7's defense drones hovered, laying down suppressive fire. Selena stood near the console, trying to stabilize the core's energy flow, while Tali crawled beneath the controls, pressing glowing runes she somehow understood. Then Mara saw it. The main stabilizer conduit glowing brighter, dangerously unstable. R7, what's happening? The core is reacting to the firefight. Containment failure imminent. Mara yelled over the noise. Selena, shut it down. Selena looked at her, confusion in her eyes. The language barrier again. Mara pointed frantically to the core and made a slicing motion across her throat. Stop it. Selena understood. She placed both palms against the crystal interface and began to sing, a low, resonant tone that vibrated through the metal. The machine responded, dimming slightly. The Voran commander barked orders. More troops descended. Mara snarled, reloaded, and charged forward. She tackled one soldier, drove her blade into the joint of his armor, and fired point blank. Blue sparks exploded around her. She turned, covered in dust and blood, eyes blazing. This world doesn't belong to you, she shouted. Her words echoed in the chamber, carrying across the noise of weapons and dying machinery. Selena looked at her with astonishment, a human fighting for a world not her own. R7 reported, Captain, core stability improving by 12%. The alien's resonance song is working. Mara grinned despite the chaos. Told you teamwork matters. But the respite didn't last. The Voran flagship's shadow appeared through the shattered roof, preparing to fire directly into the chamber. Mara's victory turned to dread. They're going to vaporize us all. She ran back to the console. R7, link me to their frequency. Link, she shouted into the comm. You want this core? Come and take it. Then she slammed the controls forward, activating every dormant defense weapon the structure had left. Outside, the sky ignited with thousands of light flares. Selena's song rose louder. Tali joined her, a child's voice echoing like hope through destruction. And in that moment, human defiance met alien strength. The chamber filled with light. The planet trembled. And the war for Karev 9 had truly begun. The explosion above them shook the ground like thunder trapped inside stone. Chunks of molten rock fell from the ceiling, smashing into the ancient machinery that surrounded them. The once sacred chamber of Karev 9 was now a battlefield, half ruins, half miracle of survival. Mara staggered to her feet, coughing from the smoke. Her armor was scorched, her weapon overheating. R7 status. The AI's voice crackled through static. Shields holding at 20%. The Voran flagship is charging another orbital strike. Of course they are, Mara muttered, gripping her blaster tighter. They always underestimate humans until we bite back. Across the room, Selena knelt beside the core interface. The crystalline engine pulsed wildly, flashing from blue to red. Its energy screamed through the floor. Tali crouched beside her mother, tears streaking her glowing cheeks. She reached out toward the crystal and froze as it responded, its light bending toward her tiny hand. Mara noticed immediately. Hey, wait, don't touch that. But Tali already had. The light around the girl flared, not in violence, but in recognition. The crystal pulsed like a living heart. Symbols blazed across the walls, ancient runes activating for the first time in centuries. Selena gasped. She turned to Mara, her eyes wide. She spoke quickly in her own tongue, pointing to her daughter, then to the ceiling, then to her heart. R7's translation unit strained to process the overlapping signals. Captain, she says the child is bonded to the planet's core. She is its key. Mara froze. The key? You mean, she can control it? Affirmative. Genetic link detected. Tali's DNA sequence matches the system's biointerface signatures. She was born for this. The truth hit Mara like a shockwave. The Vorin didn't just destroy this world, they were hunting her. She turned toward the looming hole in the ceiling, where the black shadow of the Vorin flagship waited. They weren't trying to erase a planet. They were trying to erase a bloodline. Outside, the sky burned. Lightning and plasma fire tangled together. Selena clutched her daughter protectively, understanding now the cruel precision behind their suffering. They kill all, like her, she said in broken English, her voice trembling. They fear her gift. Mara looked at the small alien girl, terrified, trembling, glowing faintly like a living piece of starlight, and something fierce ignited inside her. They'll have to go through me first. The AI interjected urgently. Captain, the core energy is rising exponentially. If we don't stabilize it, the entire planet will collapse. Mara thought fast. Then we use it. Reroute the power through the planetary defense grid. Impossible without a direct neural link. Mara pointed toward Tali. We have one. Selena's eyes widened in horror. Too dangerous. I know, Mara said softly, crouching beside them. But if we don't, nobody gets out alive. Let me help her control it. Selena hesitated. Her instincts screamed to protect her child, but she looked at Mara's eyes, steady, fearless, human. She nodded slowly. Mara connected her wrist interface to the crystal panel. Sparks erupted instantly. Her system screamed under the overload, but she didn't let go. R7. Translate my voice directly into her auditory range. She'll understand tone, if not words. Connected. Mara met Tali's eyes. Hey kid, she said gently. We're going to save your home. Together. You just have to trust me. The little girl blinked, then nodded, her trembling fingers tightening around Mara's hand. The chamber filled with blinding light. Streams of energy crawled up their arms like liquid fire. Mara grit her teeth as the pain seared her nerves, but she held steady. The holographic map flickered into existence again, this time showing not destruction, but balance. R7's voice filled the room. Core alignment sequence reinitializing. Planetary crust stabilization, 30% and rising. Selena's tears fell silently as she watched her child and the human fight the impossible. The Vorin soldiers tried to advance, but the pulsing energy of the core repelled them. The air itself shimmered, pushing them back. One soldier screamed as his armor melted under the radiant force. The others faltered. Captain, R7 warned. Energy buildup approaching lethal threshold. I know, Mara groaned. Just a little more. The crystal flared. The entire planet's crust shifted beneath their feet. Mountains sank. Oceans recoiled. The dying world was breathing again. Then, silence. The energy dimmed, replaced by a low hum. Mara and Tali collapsed to the floor, breathing hard. The core glowed a steady gold. Selena rushed to her daughter, holding her tightly. Tali's chest rose and fell weakly, but she was alive. The girl whispered faintly. It listened. Mara smiled through exhaustion. Yeah, kid. It did. R7 confirmed. Planetary collapse averted. Environmental stability achieved. Core fully sealed. For the first time since arriving, Mara allowed herself to exhale. We did it. But her relief lasted only seconds. Outside the cavern, the Vorin flagship repositioned and began to descend. The ground shook again, not from nature this time, but from rage. R7's tone dropped to a cold monotone. Incoming transmission, Vorin command. Message reads, you've taken what belongs to us. Now you'll die for it. Mara looked toward the cratered ceiling, her eyes blazing. They want her alive. That means we've got leverage. Selena stood beside her, no longer the frightened refugee, but a mother ready to fight for her child's future. Mara raised her weapon, its barrel glowing hot. They destroyed your world. Let's show them what it means when humanity stands with someone they try to erase. R7 armed the cruiser's orbital cannons automatically. Captain, authorization? Mara's smile was razor-thin. You already know the answer. Outside, thunder rolled, not from the sky, but from the vengeance of two mothers and one child who refused to bow. The war for Karev 9 had changed. Now it wasn't about survival. It was about revenge. The chamber rumbled like a beast beneath their feet. Dust poured from the ceiling as the planet groaned once more, alive but furious. Mara steadied herself, eyes locked on the sky through the fractured roof. The Voran flagship loomed above, a black dagger in orbit, its crimson engines flaring as it descended toward them. R7's voice sliced through the chaos. "Captain, gravitational instability detected. The planet's magnetic field is fluctuating. If the Voran fire again, it could trigger total collapse." Mara's reply was sharp. "Then we don't give them the chance." She grabbed Selena's shoulder. "Get Tali to the ship. Now." Selena hesitated, torn between running and staying to help. "You? I'll be right behind you." Selena didn't understand every word, but she saw the determination in the human's eyes, that reckless fire unique to her kind. She nodded once and lifted Tali into her arms, running through the trembling tunnels toward the landing site. Mara turned to R7. "Prep the cruiser for launch and route all power to forward shields." "Understood. But may I remind you, Captain, the probability of survival is..." "Don't. Just get it done." The Voran flagship unleashed its fury. Lances of energy crashed into the mountain, blasting open the rock above. Rivers of molten glass rained from the sky. Mara sprinted through the collapsing corridor, dodging debris and fire. Her armor scorched, her lungs burned, but she didn't stop. Outside, Selena reached the ship. The hull was glowing from the heat. She stumbled up the ramp, shielding Tali with her own body. R7's voice greeted them from the intercom. "Welcome aboard. Captain Thorne is still en route." Selena turned back toward the tunnel entrance, just as a shockwave ripped through it. For a heartbeat, she thought Mara was gone. Then a shadow burst through the smoke, battered, limping, but alive. Mara leapt onto the ramp as the entire platform cracked and fell into the molten abyss. She slammed her hand against the hatch controls, sealing it shut as the cruiser roared to life. "R7, lift off," she shouted. Engaging thrusters. The ship tore free from the collapsing cliff, engines howling. Lava geysers erupted below, lighting the storm in fiery orange. Inside the cockpit, warning lights painted everything red. "Shields at 40%, R7 warned. Enemy tracking lock detected." Mara's hands flew over the controls. Evasive maneuvers. Let's see if their fancy targeting can handle old-school flying. The cruiser twisted through the air, diving between collapsing mountain ridges and sheets of plasma rain. The Voran flagship fired again, a white beam slicing through the sky. It grazed the cruiser's tail, sending sparks across the cockpit. Tali screamed. Selena held her close, whispering in her language. Prayers, promises, maybe both. Mara gritted her teeth. "Hold together, baby. Just a little more." She rolled the ship hard and pulled up, breaking through the upper atmosphere. The heat shield flared bright gold. Outside, the Voran ship followed, rising like a predator through the storm. R7's tone was urgent now. "Captain, the enemy is charging its main cannon. Impact in 20 seconds." Mara's mind raced. "We can't outrun that." She glanced back at Selena and Tali, the mother and child who had lost everything. Then an idea struck her. Dangerous. Desperate. Human. "R7, she said quietly. "Remember the core link?" "Affirmative. Can we channel it into the cruiser's main array?" "Risk assessment, catastrophic." "Good. That's my specialty." She switched the ship to manual override and opened a connection to the stabilizer core below. The cruiser hummed violently as raw planetary energy surged through its systems. Lights flickered. Metal groaned. Selena shouted something, warning her, but Mara was already pushing the throttle to maximum. Come on, come on." The Voran ship fired. At that exact moment, Mara redirected the core energy into the forward cannons and unleashed it. A single beam, bright as a newborn sun, tore through the clouds and struck the Voran flagship head-on. The enemy's cannon never fired. The beam ripped through its hull, splitting the monstrous vessel in half. For an instant, the entire sky turned white. Then, silence. When the light faded, the Voran fleet was gone, shattered debris raining into the planet's upper atmosphere like dying stars. Mara slumped back in her chair, exhausted, her gloves smoking. R7's voice crackled weakly. "Enemy vessels neutralized." Selena approached the cockpit, holding Tali. The child reached out and touched Mara's arm. Her tiny fingers glowed faintly, soothing the burns that ran along the pilot's skin. Mara smiled faintly. "Guess we're even." But outside, The planet still trembled. R7 reported, "Captain, the core's energy is destabilizing again. The overload you triggered is tearing the mantle apart. We must leave now." Mara nodded. "Set course for orbit." Full burn. The cruiser shot upward, slicing through fire and storm. Below them, the once-drowned world began to split apart. Geysers of light erupted across the continents, the last breaths of a dying planet. Tali pressed her face to the window, watching her home crumble into the void. Her small voice trembled. "It gone?" Mara looked at her gently. "Not gone. Remembered." They broke through the atmosphere and soared into the cold stillness of space. Behind them, Karev 9 cracked one final time, then went silent. A glowing dust ring replaced what had once been a world. R7's display flickered. Planetary mass collapsed complete. Core energy dispersed into surrounding space. Residual readings, strange. Mara frowned. Strange how? Almost as if something survived. Mara stared at the swirling dust cloud below. For a moment, she thought she saw it. A pulse of golden light deep within the ruins, beating like a heart. She whispered, "Maybe she saved more than we know." The cruiser drifted quietly through the void, its hull scarred, its crew exhausted. But in that silence, a new purpose began to form. Not vengeance, not duty, but promise. Because where one world had fallen, a new alliance had risen. Human and alien, bound by courage, defiance, and the stubborn will to fight for tomorrow. The void was quiet again. Too quiet. Only the hum of the cruiser's damaged engines and the soft rhythm of breathing filled the cabin. The blue glow of Karev IX's shattered remains drifted outside the viewport, a slow-spinning halo of dust and light. The grave of a world and the birth of a legend. Mara sat at the helm, bandaged hands resting on the controls. Her reflection in the glass looked older, harder, but there was a calm in her eyes. The kind that comes after surviving the impossible. R7 hovered beside her, voice subdued. Hull integrity at 62%. Fuel reserves, minimal. Long-range communications, restored. Mara exhaled slowly. Good. Maybe this time someone will actually pick up. Behind her, Selena and Tali were asleep in the med bay. The child's small hands still glowed faintly, casting a golden hue on her mother's tired face. Even in rest, the girl radiated the same pulse the planet once carried, steady, alive. Mara watched them for a long moment. Humanity's creed echoed in her mind. We don't walk away when someone needs us. A beeping sound broke the silence. R7's sensors flashed. Incoming signal. Encrypted. Origin unknown. Mara leaned forward. Let's hear it. Static filled the speakers. Then a faint, distorted voice emerged. Not Vorin. Not human. Something in between. To any surviving ships, this is Outpost Orion. Multiple rifts detected across the sector. Planets collapsing one by one. Requesting immediate assistance. Mara's eyes narrowed. Rifts. R7 confirmed grimly. Energy signature identical to Karev IX's collapse pattern. Selena stirred at the word, as if she could feel it even in sleep. Mara rose and walked to the viewport. She looked out at the starlit debris field, the ghosts of oceans, mountains, and cities now circling like glittering dust. First Karev, she whispered. Now more. She tapped the console. R7, patch that signal through. Chart every system showing instability. Working, the AI replied. Warning, you are one ship against a networked force. The odds are unfavorable. Mara smirked. When have we ever cared about odds? The AI paused. You are human. Statistical recklessness is expected. Mara chuckled under her breath. Damn right it is. She turned toward the med bay. Selena was awake now, her eyes glassy but calm. You heard that? Mara asked. Selena nodded slowly. More worlds. Yeah, Mara said. And if we don't act, they'll end up like yours. Selena glanced at her daughter, then back at the human. You help? Mara smiled faintly. We all help. Together. Selena reached out her hand, hesitant, trembling, and Mara clasped it firmly. Different skin, same resolve. In that brief touch, an unspoken promise passed between them. This wasn't the end. R7's voice broke in again. Captain, a gravitational anomaly detected near the outer belt. Faint pulse matching the child's resonance. Mara's brow furrowed. You mean Tali? Yes. The same energy that stabilized the core is echoing from deep space. Selena heard it too. Her breath caught. Others, like her. Mara's gaze hardened. Then that's where we go. She returned to the pilot's chair, powering up the engines. They sputtered once, then roared alive, defiant against the silence of space. The dust ring of Karev 9 shimmered in their wake as the cruiser rose higher. Tali stirred in her sleep, murmuring a single word, light. Selena looked at Mara, puzzled. Mara just smiled. Yeah, kid. Let's go find it. The stars ahead brightened, like they were waiting. The cruiser tilted its nose toward the unknown, thrusters igniting in twin blue flares. R7 initiated the jump sequence. Destination? Mara's grin widened. Wherever someone still believes the fight isn't over. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. The ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind the ashes of a drowned world and carrying with it the spark that refused to die. The fire of a human who wouldn't quit, a mother who refused to break, and a child whose heartbeat could light the stars. The legend of Karev 9 had ended, but the story of them, the human, the alien, and the child of light, had just begun.